Hey guys, what is up? Hope you're having a fantastic day so far, and I'm here with my Room for Ruby review. But really quick before I start with the review itself, I want to go over my channel and some updates that I'll be having regarding the reviews. So usually I would post a review within 2 hours of it airing on cable, but that's becoming a little bit more difficult for me to edit and put out. So I think I'm going to be releasing reviews now on Saturdays, so that way it gives me time to actually sit down, go over the episode, take it all in, analyze it, give my own personal thoughts and opinions on it to make a better review for you guys, because usually it'd just be like a really quick 6-minute recap, and I really don't like doing that because anybody can recap it, but I really want to go into the episode and give my personal thoughts and opinions and talk about the entire episode in those review videos, which I haven't been able to do because I've always been trying to push it out so that way it's released within the 2 hours of the episode airing. So like I said, reviews are going to be on Saturdays now, and I'm probably not going to be able to do reactions anymore because taking the time to edit those, record, edit, and then put that in with the review on its own was already taking a lot of time, and if I'm going to be putting more time into the reviews, I just don't have the kind of time to actually sit down and edit everything for the reviews. Also, I just haven't been enjoying doing the reactions. I feel that it's, affecting how I watch the show and the episodes. I'm not enjoying them as much, at least when I was doing the reactions, because I felt like I had to entertain and provide commentary for you guys, which is not usually how I watch things. Usually I'm completely silent when I watch something the first time through. So me having this kind of, not necessarily pressure, but expectation to have commentary, be funny, provide something personal of me into the reaction, affected how I was viewing the episodes. So probably not going to do reactions. Might bring them back for big episodes, maybe season premieres or season finale episodes or something like that, but until then, probably not. Gonna just take time and put in some more time and effort to my reviews to make those better. But yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at with the channel right now. But enough of the updates. Let's get into the review itself. So just be warned that I will be going over everything that happened in Room for Ruby. So if you don't want to be spoiled, if you haven't seen the episode yet, be warned about that. But with that, let's get into the review. So the episode starts off with Garnet and Steven doing some stargazing. Garnet sees a shooting star and Steven tells her to wish on it. So Garnet does that and then wishes that Steven had a shooting star so that he can make a wish on it. And then in comes a screaming little ball of fire, and it's actually Navy. And I don't remember exactly which video I said this in, but I was like, oh, what if the ruby is plummeted towards Earth onto Beach City? And that's what ended up happening, because it's Navy. So Steven and Garnet run down to the beach, and they see, Navy in this crater. And so they're very surprised by this. And then Navy hops out, and she's like, hey, you know what? I don't want to go back to Homeworld. Please let me stay on Earth with you guys. And so Steven and Garnet are obviously shocked by this. And Steven starts listing off everything that the gems ever did to them, like tricking them into playing baseball, Amethyst pretending to be Jasper, taking their ship and leaving them stranded. And, Navy's just pretty cool with everything. I mean, ever since Hit the Diamond, Navy always did seem like the nicer gem. But just you wait till the end of this episode. You won't be thinking that. But, I had suspicions about this when images of this episode first leaked. I was like, I don't think that Navy is going to be hanging around for very long. But I'll get to that towards the end. But, yeah, so Steven's like, we did all these horrible things, and Navy's like, no, it's okay, we were fighting back then, it's all good now, I just want to stay on Earth with you. Garnet's kind of skeptical about it, but Steven's like, hey, you know what, this sounds like a story that you once told me about a ruby falling to Earth and then falling in love with it. And then we get a really cute Garnet moment where she's like, oh, stop. And then Garnet agrees, and so Steven's like, great, I have the perfect place where Navy can stay. And so brings her to the barn with Lapis and Peridot, and when they first get introduced, Peridot and Lapis's face are priceless. They are so good. And then Peridot's like, well, okay, well, when did you get to Earth? And Navy's just like, well, just today. And Peridot is super stoked about having a new barnmate. Lapis not so much, and understandably so. And Lapis is like, hey, can we just talk about this really quick before we invite somebody new into the barn? And Lapis is super suspicious. She bubbles up Navy in one of her water bubbles so she can't hear, and Lapis is like, I don't trust her. There's no way that she's super hyped to be here on Earth. She's like, I'm still getting used to being here on Earth. There's no way that this ruby would ever be like, so excited to live on Earth. And Peridot and Steven are like, hey, just give her a chance. And Peridot's like, we've been on Earth. We can teach her, the ropes and do everything like that. And then Lapis is like, yeah, sure, I'll try, which I think is great, because Lapis doesn't really seem like the character who tries a lot, and hasn't really been shown to be the character who tries a lot. She usually kind of just ends up following others' plans, and this kind of is like Peridot and Steven's plan in a way, but she seems slightly more enthusiastic about it, which is good to see from Lapis, that she's actually putting, time into caring about stuff and caring about others, trying to teach Navy how to live here on Earth. So they start by telling Navy how the weather works on Earth, and we get a little cool piece of lore here, is that Homeworld doesn't have weather. I mean, we knew that they didn't have rainbow. We got confirmation that it's always sunny there. So I guess there's no nighttime, because it seems like it wasn't hinted at that like there was day and night cycles or anything like that. It was just constantly always sunny. The sun was always out. So I mean, that's pretty cool that we got that information on Homeworld. But Navy wonders like what rain is, and so Lapis is like, here, I'll show you. So she takes water from the little pool and then makes it rain, and then Navy is loving it. And Lapis is a little bit salty here, because she's not happy that Navy is just loving everything right away, when Lapis didn't really understand it when she first got to Earth. So Lapis is a little bit saltier, but they move on to the barn and looking inside the barn, and we get confirmation here that Lapis likes to sleep, which I think is cool, because the only other gem that we've really seen like to sleep is Amethyst. And then we also find out that Lapis snores when she sleeps, so that's pretty cute that Lapis snores. So in addition to her snort laugh, she also snores, and then we just get to see Peridot embarrassing Lapis, which is completely adorable. And so then Navy's like, here, I want to learn how to sleep. Teach me how to sleep. And so Lapis is like, it's a little bit tricky, but here's what you have to do. And then Navy falls asleep like instantly, just out cold on the floor. And so Lapis is like, oh, well, looks like you got this. And still pretty salty, but then they go out into the field, start learning about vegetables. Navy's like comes running in with like some carrots. She's like, oh my gosh, I love vegetables. They're so great. And so Lapis like is pretty upset at this point that Navy's just loving everything. She picks up pumpkin. She's like, well, do you like pumpkin? And Navy's like, of course I love pumpkin. And then Lapis is like, well, do you like dirt? And Navy's like, of course I love dirt. And then Navy just starts rolling around in the dirt, and then Peridot and Steven join in, and then Lapis is like, well, how do you feel about us? You should be so mad at us. And Navy's like, no, I love you guys. It's so great. And Lapis just doesn't understand. She's like, why aren't you mad right now? And so then Navy is just like, well, I think being mad is like one of the things I can't do with this little cute, adorable face. And then Lapis is just not having it. She's like, oh, come on, flies off. And then Navy's like, well, did I do something wrong? And then Peridot and Steven are like, no, it's okay. It's more complicated than that. Go and look for Lapis. And we get Lapis having a very just telling moment of how much she's grown and developed. I know a lot of people give Lapis like a lot of hate because of her personality and just how like unapologetic she is, but we get a moment here where she's like, something is wrong with me. It's like I'm still learning how to live on Earth, how to appreciate and like Earth, and Navy's just getting it like right away. And she has like this moment of self-doubt. She feels bad because the others aren't believing her suspicions about Navy in the first place. She has these insecurities that she doesn't know how to deal with, and it's her facing them in this moment. And Steven and Peridot are like really supportive. Peridot especially, she's like, well, there's not a rush for you to learn this stuff. And Lapis is feeling kind of bummed out and bad, and then Navy overhears this, and she's like, oh, I'm sorry, maybe I should just go. And pretty much for the first time in the series, we actually see Lapis like apologize for something, and she's like, no, this is my problem. This is on me. I'm sorry if I made you feel like you don't belong. And so the Navy's like, well, I wouldn't have anywhere to go anyway. I lost my ship. The ship is the only thing, where I ever really belonged. And then Steven's like, oh, wait, it's over there. We have it. And then he's like, here, do you want to, take us on, like a little test ride? And so Ruby's like, oh yeah, of course. So they all board the ship, and Steven's like, oh, this is so great that the Crystal Gems have a new pilot now. And so Peridot and Lapis are like, yeah, things are going great. This is good. And then Navy, this little Navy, is just like, hey, Steven, press that button over there. And so, you have to know at this point, like, this is not going well at all. And so Steven presses it. Navy, like, she's like in some sort of chamber, like some sort of light chamber that doesn't let her get sucked out. So Steven, Lapis, Peridot, and Pumpkin go flying out of the Ruby ship, and Steven still doesn't get it. Steven's like, I think there's something wrong with this ship, and Navy just turns around, and she's like, the only thing that's wrong right now is that you're still holding on. So Steven comes to the realization that Navy was playing him the entire time, and he's like, why didn't you steal it, in the very beginning? And Navy was just like, oh, I wanted to see the look on your face when you got tricked by your favorite little Ruby here. And Lapis is pissed. Lapis is pissed right now, and she's like, oh my god, you little dirty, and tries to like hop into the Ruby ship, but Navy swings around, drops them all into the ocean, and Steven's like, Lapis, she's getting away. And then Lapis just starts laughing, and she goes, I was right the entire time. And I know some people got kind of pissed off at this part because they feel that this didn't develop Lapis anymore, like everything that happened in this episode was negated in this moment. But it's not really, in my opinion, because the thing about this episode was people didn't believe, Peridot and Steven didn't believe Lapis's suspicions in the very beginning. And, Lapis has a lot of insecurities and self-doubt. So, she felt like she was wrong. She felt like she was the bad guy in this situation because she didn't trust Navy, and rightfully so, because Lapis and Peridot, out of any gems, should know how hard it is to adjust to life on Earth. So seeing Navy, and she was pretending the entire time, get used to everything so quickly, it made Lapis feel bad and made Lapis feel worse, and have, more insecurities, and just didn't know how to deal with it. So the fact that Lapis was right kind of just justifies her and her, not necessarily decision making, but her being able to tell, suspicious from not suspicious. The thing with Steven is that Steven's going to love and accept everybody no matter what until someone does something terrible or horrible to him, basically. He's going to continue to have that love and affection for everyone, whereas Lapis is going to be able to look at somebody and just be like, hey, you know what, no, I don't trust this. So I think it was good in that sense for Lapis being able to actually say that she was right in this instance. I know, like I said, people are going to say, oh, she didn't have any development in this situation, but I think it's good that Lapis was actually right about this, and that she should have trusted her gut and just been like, you know what, no, I think this is wrong. I think she's tricking us. I think she's playing us. And so Lapis is still laughing up onto the beach, and then we get Garnet with 2 balloons that says, welcome to the party, and then sorry for your loss. Pops the one that says welcome to the party, and she's like, hey, it was worth a shot. So the thing at the end here, it is a little bit awkward, I guess, because Lapis could have done something, I guess. I don't think she would have been able to actually catch up with this Ruby ship. I think that this Ruby ship goes far faster than Lapis could ever fly. We know Lapis goes pretty fast because she was able to fly from Earth to Homeworld in a pretty reasonable amount of time. But I think this Ruby ship would have gone faster, and it's like, well, she could have taken the water, but moving that much water takes time for Lapis. I don't think she would have been able to capture an entire Ruby ship, basically, with her water. So I'm not going to fault her too much, and I'm sure that initial reaction to being right was just so overwhelming for her that, she probably was going to laugh it off and just be like, hey, you know what, I was right on this, on this matter, on this situation. And then you get, Garnet at the end there kind of just being like, oh, well, it was worth a shot. But it's like, now you don't have the Ruby ship. Now Navy is going to get the other Rubies, snitch on you to Homeworld. And, that's probably how Homeworld's going to come. I mean, I think pretty much since Steven Mom, when we knew that Blue Diamond wanted to get more humans for the zoo, we know that, Homeworld would be coming back to Earth soon, but I think this is going to speed up the process. If the Crewniverse wanted Steven and the gang to pick up the rubies, all the way back from the Steven Bomb, they would have done so. They would have written it that way, but I think with Navy, it's going to serve the plot in Homeworld coming to Earth, and I could see that being the season 4 finale, because we're coming up on the end of season 4 here. But yeah, I don't know, because this isn't the first time, I guess, the rubies could have done something, and the gems just kind of ignored it, because in Hit the Diamond, when Steven's like, oh, Jasper's on Neptune, go to Neptune, then the rubies could have very well just gone to Homeworld and reported that there were crystal gems on Earth, that they lied, that Jasper wasn't there on Neptune. They could have very well done that, but it wasn't that big of a concern. I think the reason why, since Steven Mom, when Steven's like, oh, we'll pick them up on the way back, was such a big deal is because he said that, and it wasn't really addressed for the next couple episodes until this episode here, when we get Navy crash landing on Earth. So that's why I think this was such a bigger deal, is because Steven said they'd go back to get him and then didn't. But this isn't the first time where the gems just let the rubies go, and just them going back to Homeworld and snitching on them wasn't a possibility. Or even, if you think all the way back to season 1, when they let Lapis, go off planet, go back to Homeworld, tattle on them basically. It's not like the entire rest of season 1, the second half of season 1, was them getting ready for Homeworld. They were like, you know what, we're gonna wait and see what happens. And I feel like that happens a lot in Steven Universes. They wait and see what happens. It's not like they're gonna, build defenses and stuff like that against Homeworld, or bring it up a lot. They're gonna continue their lives as normal until something else happens. So yeah, a little bit awkward there at the end, but again, it's nothing that the show hasn't done before, where the gems take a very passive reaction to Homeworld gems coming, or any involvement with Homeworld gems. So yeah, but overall, I really like this episode. I think this is a great episode for Lapis. If you guys don't know, Lapis is pretty much one of my favorite characters of the series. Her and Pearl are pretty much my top 2 favorite characters, so I think this was a good development for Lapis, and just her dealing with her insecurities about her and living on Earth, and how she's still getting used to it, and her just learning to trust her gut, and just, if she feels that something is wrong, don't be afraid to say it. Don't be afraid to be the minority and just call something, because you know what, she ended up being right in the end. Navy was playing them all, and maybe if they listened to Lapis, maybe they wouldn't have lost the ruby ship in the in this episode. But Navy taking the ship was essential to move the plot forward for all you people who are like, the plot's not going anywhere. You know what? The plot's going to go somewhere now, because Navy's got that ship. She's going to get the rest of the rubies, and then she's going to go tell Homeworld. So plot is moving along, people, so you can't call this one filler either. But yeah, so those were my thoughts and opinions on Room for Ruby. I think it was kind of surprising, because from the title you're like, oh, it's going to be an episode about Ruby, and no, it's actually an episode about Lapis, which I kind of liked. I liked that I wasn't really expecting that, because it's in the title, Ruby, so it's obviously going to be about Ruby, but I like that it was about Lapis. It's kind of surprising, and I think this was a good moment for Lapis. So, but next week, not this next Friday, but 2 Fridays from now, it's gonna be Line 4 is the next episode. So we haven't gotten a Lion episode since season 3, all the way back from Line 3 straight to video, and that one was huge, because that's when Steve gets the tape where he talks to Rose, or not talks to Rose, but sees Rose. So yeah, so this is gonna be a big episode, so cannot wait for that one. All the Lion episodes have been awesome. So yeah, cannot wait for that. But let me know what you thought of Room for Ruby. Let me know what you guys think of Line 4 coming out, because I would love to hear it. But thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more Steven Universe related content. And until next time, guys, take care.